These are two important questions in processes to look at when we're talking about data health. Your data has to be in line, set up, and good to go for a measurement program, or else things are not necessarily going to be measuring accurately or correctly at all. So is your data complete? Take a look at, and these are just some examples here, but are things like UTMs, tracking codes, pixels, are all of those actually operating correctly and tracking the things that they should be tracking? Are our customer prospect records, do they actually have complete information? Are we putting the data, that needs to go into each record actually into each record? Are we tracking goals? Are people actually using these systems? Because if people aren't putting data into the systems, you don't have anything to measure. And you only are measuring that one person that's really diligent about putting their data into the system instead of the overall picture. So once you find out if your data is complete, you want to ask if it's accurate. When were the records reviewed? I highly recommend that everyone does a review of their systems on a semi-regular basis to take a look and say, is everything, all these questions, is everything filled out? All these completion questions, to make sure that things are consistently up to date. Because the longer you go in between these cycles of making sure everything's ready to go and is complete, the harder a process it's going to be. So set up a program in place. Whoever is in charge of the system itself can be in charge of the actual checks and make sure that everything is set up, working, and the data is complete.
Yeah, this graphic kind of tells you how important it is. Look at all these different places where your data is coming in from out there.
Most companies think that they might have, oh, we've got about 10 systems that carry data, but a recent study was done where they found out, I think it's 114 data collecting systems in the average business.
Wow. So they're all over the place though. So how, we're talking about dashboards is the way to get them all into a single place where we can look at all of the information together. So are you going to tell us about some different dashboards next?
Oh, I am, of course.
Awesome. Well, let's check it out.
All right. So we've got a couple different integrated KPI dashboard report tools, and we're going to walk through sort of from the most time consuming to some of the automated, and then those really nice, pretty designed infographic versions.
In less than 10 minutes.
In less than 10 minutes. It's going to be a speed run, everybody. Hold on. All right. So we're going to start off talking about manual and often executive labor here. They're your Excel spreadsheets and your Google Sheets. These are low cost. They're super easy to use. If you've been using Excel, you can build a dashboard. The downside of this, it's going to be a point in time report. It's going to tell you nothing about this was 5 minutes ago, unless you just downloaded the data set 5 minutes ago. So you're not getting that easily updated piece without a bunch of extra plugins and all sorts of stuff going on in the back end. Then we start to get into these automated dashboards. You have three options when it comes to automation, basically. You've got your automated dashboard with skilled labor attached to it, your Power BIs, your Tableaus, dashboards that have to be built by someone that understands how they're built. They're low initial cost of entry, but it can be hard to use and hard to figure out. It's also not necessarily always going to be an automated piece. A lot of times there is some manual work that needs to go into it to make sure that everything stays updated, depending on the package that you have. And that package that you have can turn something that costs you $70 into something that costs you $700,000 very quickly.
So that one also has two SLAs, right? Because you have a service level agreement for the service provider, and then you have the technology agreement.
Along with other plugins and things like that you need to have in place in order to make them work. So it's a lot to manage. So a lot of times you're going to be looking at consulting contracts to help build those pieces out. So then we have automated dashboards through DIY labor. These are generally low cost. But there's a bit of a learning curve here. You probably want to have one or two people in-house, if not more, that are focused on this piece, that understand how to actually build these out. But they can be almost real time, same with the other ones. But again, there's a steep learning curve there. And some of these, like Google Data Studio, which come across as being free tools, actually have quite a cost to them when you're starting to plug in any systems that are not Google-owned systems. So then we have managed dashboards, which is what Aviz, my company, does. And also another local St. Louis company, PinPath, they do manage dashboards as well. So these are a little bit higher starting costs, but easy access platforms. Again, you're getting that real-time data and you're getting all of that labor and support built into the overall contract. So this is really a question of what is right for you and your company and your budget in order to make it happen. The last type that we have here are these designed and manual calculated dashboards. A lot of times you see these in places where federal regulation, it might prevent your ability to actually connect into automated systems, which is fairly common. These are absolutely gorgeous reporting tools, but they take a long time to put together. They are a little bit tricky. All the data has to be calculated manually in a lot of cases. And again, you're looking at point in time. There is no changing any of the data within these pieces because it's based on this exported series of reports that are not updating regularly.
So Liz, I think what we might do is send out these examples and pros and cons of the examples. We'll have Gabrielle send out that part. So starting with those dashboard options and then this section, you know, I do want you to just spend a little bit of time because people who don't have automated dashboards don't know necessarily what they look like. So if you could just chat about that real quick and we'll try to wrap it up here.
Yeah, so the glory of an automated dashboard is that it can be customized either by you, a contractor, or a SaaS solution provider to display data in a way that you need to see it. All of the data is connected directly to the dashboard through APIs, through SQL, through either various server connections, uploaded spreadsheets sometimes. All of it, though, is connected. And then through a either coding process or some pre-built templates, you're able to combine all of those different data points in order to show those visualizations and all of that different data and show some of those more strategic metrics and how everything comes together. These are, you can get to them 24/7. They're almost all going to be cloud-based. Some of them do have desktop applications, but cloud-based is the way of the future. Everything is going to the cloud now. But all the data is one place. It's always going to be updated or have a relatively straightforward process of updating it to the newest version. Another benefit of these is that you can have everything in one place for the people that need to view everything, but you can also limit the access of certain users. So you can actually manage that whole, get the right data for the right users. You can manage that process just right there in the same environment without having to provide separate things for separate people. And again, the data can be variable. You can really get in there, filter the data, break it down by a bunch of different metrics and variables in order to see how things come together quickly and easily.
Yeah, the 30-day versus 30-day, quarter over quarter, this quarter versus last year, the same quarter. That's pretty awesome. So we're going to send you all of these slides that are back here. When it comes to automated dashboards, the pros and cons vary by type of dashboard. So we're going to send this to you and you can take some looks at it so you can determine what's the right one for your business, because there's not a one size fits all, but there are over 25 different types of dashboarding tools out there now that integrate data. And so just like with CRM, there wasn't very many.
Oh, there's thousands of dashboarding tools out there now. Dozens, there's a lot of them.
I don't have very much patience. I stopped at 25. That's it. That's enough for me. Do watch out for costs, because it's not the technology cost that bites you. It is the labor cost and those soft costs, because in your accounting system, it's all tracked as labor or agency contracts. It's really hard to look at what the total labor cost is of using a technology. Tableau and Power BI are the oldest and most established, so we do have some data on those.
Yeah, and this is a piece to look at, because a lot of times with many systems that are on sort of that lower, there's not a very high barrier to entry. They're very inexpensive to get started. But when you start to scale those dashboards, you can look at some pretty extreme operation costs down the line as those dashboards come up to scale. So it's always important when you're looking at tools and you're trying to figure out what one is right for your business, to look into what those scaling costs are down the line. Is it going to cost, how much more is it going to cost you to have 100 people using your dashboard than it is 10 people using your dashboard?
Cool. So we'll send that out. We've got a nice manual visualization, some pros and cons. I don't know what that slide is. Oh,
Sure.
data sources, lots of different places to get your data.
Yeah, and the key point to this graphic, and we've been saying it all along, is that finance is at the middle and it touches every one of the other categories, because it really is sort of the linchpin for the whole reporting process, because finance holds the data that tells you the true performance of almost every single other segment of the business.
So this is an example of a timeline, so that you can see that this is not something that you're going to say, hey, I'm an EOS company or I'm a scaling up company and my Q2 rock is I'm getting my KPIs in place. You're looking at like a 12-month timeline to really fix this, but you have this worksheet so you can work with your team to kind of decide how it's going to go forward. Most important is who's going to lead the data team for your process. And then you have to get everybody involved. They all have data that you need. So if you're going to go into an automated dashboard, you got to get it cleaned up, get it ready, move it forward, and everybody has to be involved. On your worksheets, you see this KPI conversation link. That's a link to the calendar. You can actually schedule time with us to talk to us about what problems you uncover at your business as you're trying to implement this. Connect with us on LinkedIn, send us emails, however you need to reach us. And clearly, because we ran light speed through the end of that, we'll send that last section out to everybody, and we will make the video available. Anything else, Gabrielle, before we go? Because we were like right at time.
Yeah, no, I just want to thank you both for that presentation and doing the fun polls. We love hearing from everybody. I don't have, the only other thing I'll just say is I did send a link to the class survey in chat. And you'll also get an email from us tomorrow with the same survey link. So if you've taken it today already, you don't have to worry about taking it when you get the survey from us tomorrow. If there's anything you need from me, if you need a certificate of attendance, if you have any questions for Tara and Liz after the fact, please send those to me at Enterprise University at enterprisebank.com, and we'd be happy to help you out or get those to Tara and Liz. So that's to wrap up. Is there anything else you'd like to say before I close us out?
No, thank you guys so much. This was a lot of information in 90 minutes. So if your glass is overflowing right now, take a mental health lunch break and see what you want to do next. And then don't hesitate to reach us in, because the last thing we want is for you to have sat here for 90 minutes and not get an ROI on that time.
Yeah.
So if you are not implementing a data thing after this, then we failed you.
If you have any questions at all, send us emails, connect with us on LinkedIn. We would be more than happy to talk to you about any specific questions that you might have.
Super. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. And just a reminder, everyone, if you need a certificate, please send that request to enterprise at enterprise.com. outcome. So I want to live their day, the class soon. Thank you, Tara and Liz.
Bye.
Thank you so much.